Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome to the Samantha & Son channel. Today we're going to be making a Mrs. Claus Christmas wreath. Our inspiration for this craft is this adorable coordinating Santa Claus wreath. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to gather our products, which include our 24-inch evergreen tinsel base, 3 different mesh options, several candy picks and pine picks, 7 different ribbons, and our focal point, Mrs. Claus. It also really helps if you have a basket or box to hold all of your supplies in. Just keeps it nice and tidy. Don't forget to add some glue to our glue pot or glue stick. Alright, so for the first step, you want to fluff out your base. When you buy them from the store, they like to come squished. It helps make the wreath look big and full for the finished product, and then you want to put that to the side. Next, you want to take our 21-inch mesh and cut 6 strips into 18-inch strips and put those to the side. Step 3, take the 2 10-inch mesh and layer them on top of each other. You want to cut those at 20-inch strips. Now we need to stuff our base. You'll want 10 cuts of one mesh and 6 cuts of the other 10-inch mesh. Note, you can use one of the 10-inch mesh, just make sure you cut 16 pieces. And next, we'll want to start adding mesh on the outside ring. Take your first piece of 21-inch mesh. Let the mesh roll in on itself, then fold it in half. Then find the half point, and that's where you'll want to add and attach it into the base. Make sure you place onto the base, but push the mesh down to the bar before you use pine to secure it. Make sure it's really snug in there. For step 5, you're going to want to take your 10-inch mesh, and we want to do what we call the cruffle method. You use your chest to let the mesh roll in on itself, then bunch it into the center to make a bow tie. You can also use a chip clip to hold either side of the mesh while you cruffle the mesh if that helps. Next, you're going to want to take your second 10-inch mesh and repeat step 5. You'll want to follow the same process all around the outside of the ring. And just to note, we want to stay consistent with this pattern all the way around the wreath only because we're trying to match it to the Santa Claus wreath. Feel free to make your own pattern, as long as your base is completely covered with mesh. On to step 7, now move to the inside or top ring, follow the same pattern all the way around. Alright, for the next step, we're going to want to squash our wreath into an oval. Use your body weight, don't be too rough. You just want to make it oval shape as opposed to circular shape. On to step 9. Take 3 zip ties, connect them, and then thread them through the inner ring and squeeze, then snip off the excess. This is what helps keeps the oval shape. Also, just to note, you might want to use your needle nose pliers to help pull those zip ties tight. And now we're on step 10. Take 2 pieces of pine ties at the top of the wreath. Tie them together to make a little loop at the top of the wreath. This is what your customer will use to hang their wreath on the door. Next, you're going to want to take your focal point, which is Mrs. Claus. Find the center of your wreath and place her on top of the wreath. You want to make sure you're happy with the placement before you secure her down. Then connect 3 zip ties together and secure one of her legs to the base using the zip ties. And just as an extra precaution, go ahead and zip tie her arm to the base as well. Now on to step 13. It's time to make your bow using our bow maker. Start by taking a 10-inch piece of mesh, cut it into an 18-inch strip, and cruffle it. Go ahead and place that in your bow maker. Then take your largest ribbon and measure out a 10-inch tail, and make 2 8-inch loops on either side. Then take your next ribbon, which is a 2.5-inch ribbon, make a 10-inch tail, and then make 2 7-inch loops. Also, you're going to want to follow this combination by decreasing each ribbon length by 1 until you get to the last ribbon. Next, you're going to want to secure your bow using a zip tie and then pull it off the bow maker, then fluff it out. Secure your bow to the wreath. On to step 16. Since we're making coordinating wreaths or double door wreaths, we want to put 2 wreaths side by side to make sure the placements of the bow and focal point are as close to the same place as possible. Make sure they are even, but they don't have to be perfect. On to step 17. Next, we're going to want a dovetail, or duck ear as I call it. Fold each ribbon in half and cut it in a straight line. Next up, we want to add ribbon tails to the outer ring of the wreath. Use your ribbon tail boards to cut 13-inch strips. You want to cut out 12 pieces of the ribbon of your choice. We just happen to use 2 different ribbons. On to step 19, add your first ribbon to the outer ring. A helpful tip is to add each piece of ribbon to where you already have a piece of mesh. Fold the ribbon in half and pinch it to the center. Make what looks like a little bird. And add the ribbon on top of the mesh and then secure it with the pine tie. Alternate your two different ribbons all the way around the outer ring. Step 20, if you have a little helper around the house, have them start cutting your picks. Now we're going to take our first pick, which is a pine pick, and you'll want to layer one piece on top of where you just added those ribbon tails on the outer ring. So you'll need 12 pieces. Step 22. Now take your other picks and add these to the wreath. And just to, be a little more helpful, put the picks in the wreath without gluing them first, just so you can see the placement. And when you're happy with the placement, then you can start gluing in. And also, don't burn yourself. We do it all the time. It's not fun. Step 23, add some extra greenery attachments and picks to fill out the wreath to your liking. And that's how you make a cute Mrs. Claus wreath. Remember, art is subjective, and make sure you're happy with it. And if you watched all the way through, it would be amazing if you guys could just hit the subscribe button to support the channel. Until next time, have a happy holiday season.